That's weird. Welcome to Technical Difficulties Central. Let's see. Let's tap. There we go. This evening, let's explore balance and meditation. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This evening, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. This evening, if at any point you have a question, there is no need to be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. And of course, number one, it helps if your question is about meditation or philosophy or chanting. I really can't help you with much of anything else. And number two, if you're watching a replay, you'll want to type your question in the chat window just below the video. So let's take a gander at tonight's formal lesson. A on Reddit asked, how does one know if he's centered and not leaning towards either side of the scale? Short but sweet. That was a reference to a post I'd made the day before. So we're talking about 7 days ago. And I was referring to a spectrum. And which translated into English is each end of the spectrum is rather toxic. The first is being completely controlling, and the other is being utterly scattered. So how does one know when one is in a place of centered spontaneity? Excellent question. One of the many fringe benefits of a healthy meditation practice is finding ourselves resting in the midpoint between the two toxic extremes of being either controlling or scattered. Would you like to hear an irony? Asking, am I in centered spontaneity, is an indulgence of our controlling tendencies that tears us violently out of the flow state if ever we were in it. To begin with, enter cue dramatic music. Dun dun dun. Okay. Practice going back and forth between focused and peripheral vision. Once you're in peripheral vision, melodramatically proclaim, aha, I found it. And like a rubber band pulled taut and then released, you'll snap back into foveal vision with a jolt. Simply marry the slogans, notice this, and relaxing with your respective inhalations and exhalations. And you'll cultivate the intuition of Qui-Gon Jinn as you meditate like a Jedi. So, every 12 hours, practice mindfulness and meditation, and centered spontaneity will take care of itself. Just as no one has to force puberty to happen, it happens on its own, whether you want it to or not. Just as you don't have to force the sun to set or the next day for it to rise, it'll happen by itself. Similarly, we don't have to worry about the fringe benefits of meditation. Meditate effectively and they will become an inevitability. Now, I keep no secrets. Hang out with me for a few more minutes and you'll learn everything you ever need to know but were scared to ask about contemplation, meditation, and mindfulness. So, before we do that, I wish to take approximately 15 seconds for housekeeping. If there are lessons you'd like to request, or if you simply wish to support the continued availability of these classes, there is a Patreon link in the description area below the video. Now what? What's going on? Yes, it's time to click button number 9, which is reminiscent of Revolution number 9, which I listened to and by myself in the house on Walkman when I was in junior high, and it scared the hell out of me. Excuse me whilst I honk my horn. Ghastly, is it not? Like an athlete warming up before the big game, let's warm up the neural pathways responsible for love and enthusiasm. We're performing a very concise chant of bodhicitta and refuge. Together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the Buddha's example of instructions and students. May I liberate all beings by relying on the Buddha's example of instructions and students. May I liberate all beings by relying on the Buddha's example of instructions and students. Let us chant this version of the Heart of Wisdom Sutra, which is paraphrased and amplified. Anything within a bracket is my attempt to amplify. Not because I think of all that in a bag of chips, simply because I wish for your journey to be swifter and easier than mine was. One moment, if you please. Oh, the joys of editing during a live stream. All right, now let's make sure the display is synchronized and begin from the top. It is said that Avalokiteshvara knocked of enlightened compassion, while moving in the deep peace of perfect understanding, shed light on the 5 aggregates and found them equally empty. After this realization, she made peace with all pain, So since this is most popular but for my Chinese and Zen teachers, instead of using the Sanskrit word Avalokiteshvara, let's use the Chinese word Quan Shi Yin Pu Sa. Okay. So let's just sally ahead, sally forward, sally on. There we go. All these sallies in a row, aren't they lovely, folks? Okay, so no matter how you divide reality up, how you organize your experience, by exploring the idea of emptiness can help us to make peace with all life's vicissitudes. Now, if we explore emptiness literally, we're gonna wind up in the dead end of a superstition or skullduggery, neither of which are effective. So let's explore emptiness figuratively. If we wish to practice mindfulness, the easiest thing to do is silently and mentally recite "Notice this" in harmony with each inhalation. And if we wish to experience or train in meditation, the easiest thing to do is silently and mentally recite the word "relaxing" during each exhalation. But why would we do that? Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system, which is wired for a sensory acuity, allowing us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly, allowing us to notice the external and the internal, the physical and the mental, the pleasurable and the painful, the interesting and the boring, the glorious and the grotesque. But what are we to do with all the stuff that we notice? Fortunately, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us to both physically relax as well as mentally release. And so here's the really wild thing. Whatever it is that we noticed when we breathe in, once we start relaxing in harmony with our exhalation, that thing we noticed begins to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. Now, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand? So now you know what emptiness is. It's just a figure of speech to use the naturally occurring sensations in every exhalation to help us let go. We don't have to operate from belief. We don't have to use a magic crowbar to pry open the crypt of secrets, arcane and mysterious. It's just by relaxing in harmony with the out-breath helps us to let go. That's it. Let's continue. Together. Listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness, emptiness does not differ from form. You cannot believe your way to nirvana. You can feel your way to nirvana by meditating effectively. Let's continue. The same is true with feeling of praise or impulse and awareness. Listen, Shariputra, phenomena are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither corrupted nor purified, neither increasing nor decreasing. The quickest way to let go of any duality you're experiencing is by playing with the contemplation, this and that, how not to. Let's continue. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no appraisal, no impulse, and no awareness which our perception of cannot be released. So this is a double negative. So there is no form that once we noticed, we cannot release, which means anything we notice we can release through the cunning use of respiration. No sensation, no flavor, no scent, no sound, no sight, no phenomena which our perception of cannot be released. No body, no tongue, no nose, no ears, no eyes, no mind which our perception of cannot be released. No feeling, no tasting, no smelling, no hearing, no seeing, no noticing which our perception of cannot be released. If you just joined me, welcome. When you have questions, do type them in the chat window. When I say questions, I mean those pertaining to meditation, philosophy, and chanting. No interdependent origins and no extinction of them from confusion to aging and death which our perception of cannot be released. No stress, no exacerbation, no liberation, no path. No understanding, no attainment which our perception of cannot be released. Because there is no attainment, the archetypes of enlightenment supported. Mother perfection of understanding, find no obstacles for the minds which our perception of cannot be released. You know what? I think there's a typo here. Let me tend to that. Toot sweets. My neighbor is making a food around. And now let's make sure that the screen display is still synchronized. And together let us chant. Having no obstacles. Having no obstacles once we perceive cannot be released. They transcend the tyranny of fear, liberating themselves forever from the tyranny of illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future, thanks to this perfect understanding, arrive at full right and universal enlightenment. Therefore one should know that perfect understanding is like a great mantra, is like an unequaled mantra. The destroyer of all suffering, the incorruptible truth. A mantra prajnaparamita's perfect understanding could therefore be proclaimed. This is the mantra gate gate pare gate parasam gate bodhiswaha. May also notice, relax, and release that we go completely and perfectly go to enlightenment. How do we go to enlightenment? By noticing, relaxing, and releasing. And how do we do that? By meditating. So we've already explored this evening how to practice the fundamental mindfulness of notice this and the meditation of relaxing. Let's play with 4 user-friendly contemplations. The first rhetorical question, how could this or how could blank feel stressful? The second exercise is just an intention, all beings, fill in the blank, all beings stress, may I soothe. We don't have to emote, we don't have to visualize, we don't have to believe. If we simply play with these words mentally and silently in harmony with our inhalations and exhalations, we will make progress on the path. The second rhetorical question, how could this never last? Followed by, how could this not be me? We are not trying to unearth a great metaphysical truth. We're simply playing with words that help us to love and let go. If that is all that we accomplish with our contemplations, that is most certainly enough. And so you don't have to do this, but this is a fun kind of, think of this as training wheels. Let's pretend you wanted to do a set of 16 breaths. Well, then the first 4 breaths, you could do 1 of each of these contemplations. And the remaining 12 breaths, you could do, notice this, relaxing. And if you're super smart, you'll ask, how am I supposed to count 16? Glad you asked. So, let me quick click the bunny, go to the, accost you, subject you, torment you with Jumbo Cam. Now, with jazz hands. Okay. I'm sorry. There you go. That's jazz hands. So, who was that Marvel character? Her dad was played by Lawrence Fishburne, and she vibrated so intensely she was out of phase with reality. I forgot her name. If you remember, please tell me in the chat window. Anywho, let's say you wanted to count to 16. Well, although you have 4 fingers, and each has 1 tip, each also has 3 sets of creases. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oopsie. Let's try to start with the pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So now you can count to 16 on just 4 fingers and 1 thumb, which is pretty cool. Now, what happened if you count multiple sets of 16 and used your right hand to count those sets? First set, second set, third set, and so forth. Well, if you counted 16 sets of 16 reps, you'd have 256, which is impressive. Not too bad for just 4 fingers and 2 thumbs. So, now you know how to count. By the way, back in the late 90s, there was this really cool rowdy song called, where the chorus was, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor. Well, recently on YouTube, I saw a spoof of that, and populated with Muppets, and they were singing, I can only count to 4. So funny. So, I'm going to tap button 9. That looks like it may do the trick. Okay, it is 24 minutes after the hour. Let's meditate. Why do we meditate? From a certain point of view, a hidden message of the Four Noble Truths is this. There are stressors. Some are circumstantial, some are physical, some are social, some are mental. Although we do not have the capacity to stop all stressors from being present, we do have the capacity to make them worse. We do that by indulging our most ancient survival drives of shoving and reaching and clinging. 9 times out of 10, these things, although they might protect us on the plains of the Serengeti from a hungry lion, while they do promote survival, they do not promote peace or fulfillment. And our job is not to get rid of those primal drives, because that would just be indulging our controlling tendencies and our shoving tendencies, which is profoundly ironic. So instead what we do is we make peace with them through contemplation and meditation, like we're doing right now. So it's kind of like this. Let's pretend you live with a kitty cat. Meditating is not going to stop your kitty cat from having zoomies, but it will help you to make peace with the presence of the chaos demon on four paws. Our body is not always going to be comfortable. It will not always be healthy. When we feel discomfort, when we feel illness or injury or disability, to notice it and relax, while not making it 100% better, can definitely take the edge off. There are so many energy vampires and villainous fellows traipsing about the countryside, and yet the wise instruct us to give the benefit of the doubt. How then do we test if someone's a villain or not? Give them the benefit of the doubt, and they will show you who they are. They will show you what they are. The more vulnerable you are, the more their true self will come out. Consider, if you will, the classic Trek episode of Mirror, Mirror. When the stars of the episode return to our reality, Spock informed them that it's much easier for a good man to pretend to be bad than for a bad man to pretend to be good. Some humans are quite predatory. We could call them narcissist or sociopath or psychopath, but predator works just as well. And just as a shark cannot resist the scent of blood in the water, similarly, a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath cannot resist vulnerability. When you are vulnerable in the presence of a psychopath, their mask falls off. They tear off their sheep's clothes and reveal themselves for who they are and what they are. And that is one of the ways we can use our own naturally occurring vulnerability to determine who in our lives is safe and who is not. I'm going to take a moment to slide a zafu under my tuchas. Oh boy. Whew. Let's seal this evening's practice with 2 compassionate chants. The first one will blend kindness and ethics. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. And the second one is simply the 4 immeasurables. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window. Give this live stream a thumbs up and share this on social media. In approximately 11 hours, we could return to explore the Buddhist discourse, Rain of Sky, as opposed to, until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.